Today's Morning First Alert Weather Show is brought to you by Sam Bernstein Law.
Good Tuesday morning, Mid-Michigan. I'm First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro here with your First Alert forecast. We'll be talking more about the cold weather that we have ahead of us here in the forecast, which the cold weather is not going anywhere for the time being. So we are going to be tracking here some temps in the teens, lows in the single digits. And again, this is continuing for the foreseeable future. So all of the cold weather gear, you'll still want to have that ready to go here for the extended forecast. Now today in this First Alert Weather Show, we'll be talking about the cold forecast. We'll also talk a bit about the ice and the ice fishing aspect from this too. We'll talk about that after the break. But first I do want to bring to you the forecast here, and let's just get right into the forecast. So here we are with our forecast. We do have wind chills that are currently sitting right around 0 degrees, pretty much just on either side of that, about -5 to 5 above. That's really where most of those wind chills are currently sitting, and that's going to pretty much remain the case as we go throughout the remainder of the daytime here. So I wouldn't expect wind chills to get all too much warmer from where they're already at right now. And really from here, this is going to be just the pattern that continues for the remainder of the week too. Currently, we don't have a cold weather advisory anymore, so the one that we had from this morning, that has now come to an end. That expired at 10 o'clock. I think it's very possible, though, that the next couple of nights this week, pretty much on a nightly basis, we still see more of those cold weather advisories. And I think this is one of those things that the National Weather Service is just going to look at on a day-by-day basis, just given sort of the repetitive nature of these wind chills that we have all the way through the rest of the work and school week. So pretty much each morning, I would expect wind chills to be down to about -15 or -20 at the coldest, but still everybody should be sub-zero with the wind chills every morning for the rest of the week. By the afternoon, though, we are going to have those wind chills recovering to about 0 degrees, pretty much the single digits right on either side of that 0 degree mark. So one of the key differences here compared to last week, for instance, is the fact that the very cold wind chills from the morning don't exactly stick around for the entire day. So say you wake up to a wind chill of -18, for example, that -18 does not stick around for the entire day. So the afternoon, while still cold nonetheless, is still going to be at least a bit better than the early morning. So that's the difference compared to some of the wind chills that we were tracking in the forecast from last week. But again, pretty repetitive with these wind chills here for the rest of the week. So just something to be aware of, that the cold weather is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. And another thing that we've been tracking today is the snow. We've actually had some snow showers moving through. Cold front, very weak front, is moving across our area right now, but it has been enough to kick up some of these snow showers. And we already saw some of the light snow early this morning too. I will actually say that the majority of today's snow has already fallen. And while we still will have the occasional on and off lake effect snow shower for the rest of today, I wouldn't expect anything too widely spread across our area or widely scattered either. So more so just that typical lake effect pattern that takes over for the rest of the daytime. Here's that First Alert hour by hour depicting exactly that too. While there are still some snow showers popping up on the hour by hour, again, certainly not looking like a system snow by any means. And then by late this evening, I'd say after about 7 or 8 o'clock, these snow showers should start to end. And then the rest of the overnight is actually going to be pretty quiet and pretty dry as well, other than maybe a stray flurry. We actually should break up some of the clouds during the overnight, so more of a partly cloudy sky. And we saw this also last week with some of those really cold mornings. When those skies clear out, especially with the coating of snow that we have on the ground right now, temperatures can really drop off very quickly. So I would expect tomorrow morning to even feel marginally colder than this morning, and no doubt again this morning that was very cold, but I think tomorrow will just even be that much colder. So a lot of wind chills should be able to at least be double digits below 0. So more cold weather still on the way, and even that low for tonight, just the low by itself, likely only about 3 degrees, if not even colder than that. So definitely staying cold here for the time being. Now, as far as the snow totals go for the rest of the daytime here, really only expecting, I'd say, a dusting from what we have left from right now all the way to dinner time this evening. So very low amount of snow here for the rest of the day. Collectively, if you add up what fell earlier this morning, some lucky areas might be able to pick up about an inch of snow in total by the end of the day, but certainly not tracking anything too outrageous with these snow totals here for today. But just given this cold weather, anything that does fall can stick pretty easily. So if you do have any travel to do throughout the daytime here, especially late this morning, or maybe you have some lunch plans coming up in an hour or two, I would definitely still take it easy, at least on bridges and overpasses, some of the usual spots that are a little more susceptible to becoming slick or icy when the snow falls. So that also goes for on and off ramps. So just something to be cautious of if you will be traveling here during the late morning. But again, the cold weather really is the big story here in the forecast. We'll go over some more details on the cold, some interesting statistics, and we'll talk about the ice that we have too. That'll all be coming up right after this break. Alrighty, welcome back from that break here. So we are going to be talking a little bit more about this extended cold weather and even some of the ice that we have out there too, which I'll say for ice fishers, this has been some pretty favorable weather here recently, and I've seen a lot of ice fishers out on the Saginaw River, both right here in downtown Saginaw and even downtown Bay City on the river. Things have been getting pretty active, so I know the ice fishers definitely rejoicing over this because these conditions are very favorable. But again, we'll talk about the cold here real quick. So we do have wind chills that are right now sitting between about -5 and 5 above. So it is going to stay cold like this. Wind chills pretty much at this level for the remainder of the day. Now our actual high temperature today should only reach up to 16 degrees during the afternoon. The last time that we had an above freezing temperature, and this isn't really even specifically about the high or the low or anything like that, just the last time we've had a temperature reading above freezing here in mid-Michigan was 10 days ago. That was on Saturday the 17th. Now that day we did have temps reach 33 degrees both in Saginaw here at MBS and at Bishop Airport in Flint. So 10 days since we've had a number of 32 or greater for that temperature. And we'll just continue to add to this tally as we go forward from here as well. So by this upcoming Saturday, that number will be 14. And even though next week we do have temps that'll at least come a little bit out of the deep freeze, so we're talking more 20s next week. The 20s are still below freezing too, so next week I think we'll keep adding to that tally as well. So just a pretty impressive stretch here that's been continuously below freezing. But of course, one of the upsides of that is the ice that we have out there for our ice fishers right now too. I'll show you the 7-day real quick before we talk more about the ice though. These numbers, again, certainly good to see for the ice fishers too. We have highs only in the teens the rest of the week. Even on Thursday and Friday, we're pretty much just barely getting out of the single digits both of those days. So we have a high of only 11 on Thursday and then 10 on Friday. By Sunday, only a high of 21. So even on Sunday, that does mean the majority of the day is spent in the teens. And then Monday, only a high of 24. So even by the end of the weekend and early next week, while those numbers are a little bit higher than where we're at now, it is still no doubt going to be cold by the end of this weekend. And as we start off next week too. So just a pretty cold stretch that's holding on for us. And this is the long range temperature outlook. This is February 4th to February 10th. So this goes out 2 weeks from now. And it is highlighting just a little bit of a chance, at least a slightly better chance for below average high temps. Now at this time of year, average high temps are still only about 29 to 30 degrees, depending on your location. So if you're below average, it should pretty easily mean that we'll be staying below freezing even as we go into February here. So I think this is going to be a fairly impressive stretch of cold weather that will last for quite a while. So if you aren't even an ice fisher, if you snowmobile or if you're a skier, the good news is that these conditions that we have right now with the snow as well, pretty much anywhere here in the state of Michigan, these conditions aren't going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So that is the good news in that regard with the cold weather. But with the ice, let's talk about that here. Ice fishers, yesterday there actually was a pretty decent wind that on the shoreline of Lake Huron in the Thumb, and we saw this on satellite imagery yesterday. We actually did have some ice that blew adrift from the shoreline of the Thumb, so it actually moved eastward on the southern portions of Lake Huron, moving towards Ontario. There was also a little bit of ice moving around on the Huron shoreline north of the Saginaw Bay, so up towards the Tawas Bay and Ascota, and even in the direction of Alpena as well. On the Saginaw Bay, and it is important to note on the Saginaw Bay, and I do have another map that I can show you here. And we saw this also with satellite imagery yesterday because we did have that period of clearer skies. The Saginaw Bay is mostly iced over at this point. So good news in that regard. Seen some reports. There are still a couple of holes out there though, and there are still a couple of loose chunks of ice. So I'll still very much say that caution absolutely needs to be exercised on the bay with any of that ice. I would just keep gradually spudding some holes if you're going out away from the shoreline. But at least from the satellite imagery that we've had from yesterday, there is ice cover across almost the entire bay as of this point. So that is at least good news. And with this cold weather that we have, the ice isn't going anywhere, and the ice that we do have should only just get better from here. So just wanted to give you that word of caution at least, but again, seeing good things for any of our ice fishers who are going out there. And of course, the Saginaw River between Bay City and Saginaw, I've seen myself shanties out there. So looks like a lot of ice fishers are out there enjoying these conditions, and definitely good because this winter does, I'd say as a whole, feel like a better winter for some of those winter activities compared to the last few winters that we've had. And even with the ice coverage here, this is very impressive too. So as of today, 41.3% coverage. Now granted, that's for the entire Great Lakes system. Lake Erie is pretty much completely ice covered. Lake St. Clair is, of course, the Saginaw Bay pretty much completely covered in ice as well. But this ice coverage that we have now, definitely at the higher end of the scale currently. Last year, this same day last year, we only had just over 17% ice coverage. So definitely a stark difference compared to last year, and again in a much better spot compared to last year as well. But just with this cold weather that we have holding on, the ice won't be going anywhere anytime soon. So if you do ice fish, definitely some great news for you. And again, for any of our snowmobilers too, even though there is of course more snow as you go north, the snow isn't going anywhere anytime soon as well. So if you enjoy it, then certainly there is still plenty of this to come here for the next couple of weeks at least. But with the cold weather here, outside of the cold weather, there really isn't too much more going on in the forecast really. So after today's snow showers, we just have partly cloudy skies that start to take over on Thursday. Tomorrow, we could briefly see some sun, but really more of a mostly cloudy day tomorrow, but pretty much absent of snow. Really just partly cloudy again Thursday, Friday, even into the weekend. So even though we have the cold weather, we will have that occasional peak of sunshine. So again, outside of the cold, it's pretty much what we've been saying, outside of the cold weather, it is actually a pretty easygoing forecast towards the end of the week and during the weekend period as well. But if you have any plans here for the rest of today or for the rest of the week for that matter, just be sure to layer up and bundle up and stay warm. And if you have some time today at noon, First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips, she will be right on air on TV5 for the noon newscast, and there you'll be able to catch the forecast right over the air And then First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips also has another First Alert weather show coming up at 2 this afternoon. All of the same live stream channels as well, so be sure to tune in. But in the meantime, hope you have a great rest of your morning and stay warm out there too.